The MotoGP world has once again been rocked by an unexpected statement. After a dramatic race at the Jerez circuit, world champion Pecco Bagnaia made a surprising comment about Marc Marquez, a rival who is in the spotlight thanks to his extraordinary performance this season. Bagnaia's statement was no ordinary comment. His words seemed to reveal the tension that has been hidden behind their rivalry. What exactly was Bagnaia's statement about, and why did it shock the MotoGP world? Let's discuss it. The 2025 MotoGP season was initially billed as a great chapter of redemption for Pecco Bagnaia. After an up-and-down 2024 season, the two-time world champion entered the new campaign with high ambitions, determined to reclaim his crown through consistency, strategic ingenuity, and lessons learned from the past. However, 5 rounds into the season, and the results have fallen far short of Bagnaia and Ducati's expectations. The Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez should have been the turning point. A golden moment was wide open when his main rival, Marc Marquez, made a fatal mistake and crashed while trying to overtake Bagnaia. But instead of turning the opportunity into victory, Bagnaia finished third, leaving more questions than answers. Although he has never finished outside the top 4 this season, Bagnaia's expression after the race was one of deep disappointment. In his post-race statement, he revealed a technical problem that has been plaguing him since the beginning of the season. "I'm not happy with a race like this. I can't do anything," said Bagnaia. "At the beginning I felt very good, but once I was behind Fabio Quartararo I had no space to overtake. The main problem is the front of his GP25 bike. Every time he is behind another rider the front of the bike loses stability. In dirty air conditions or turbulence from the front bike, the front tire of Bagnaia's Ducati GP25 often locks up when he brakes, causing him to lose rhythm and position." Even more ironically, Bagnaia said that this did not happen on last season's bike, the GP24. In fact, technically the chassis of the GP24 and GP25 are not that different. The GP25 actually has more potential, better acceleration, higher top speed, and is very strong on the straights. "But last year I could easily follow other riders. Now it's impossible," he complained. In the midst of his struggle to overcome the technical devil, a new threat emerged, not from Jorge Martin or Marc Marquez, but from Alex Marquez, who is now Ducati's brightest star. Riding last year's version of the Ducati, Alex was much more consistent and effective than Bagnaia. He even led the provisional standings, a hard blow for the Ducati factory team. Peter Bom, one of MotoGP's most respected observers, described Bagnaia's situation as his worst nightmare. He pointed out, "This is Bagnaia, beaten many times by his own old bike, ridden by the younger brother of his greatest enemy. Imagine the pain. From battling Jorge Martin and Marc Marquez last year, Bagnaia is now unable to compete with Alex Marquez on an older bike." But the story of this season would not be complete without mentioning a name that has been the center of attention, the spotlight, and the heart of every conversation in the paddock: Marc Marquez. The 8-time world champion, now wearing Ducati red, has looked almost unstoppable, but has also shown a vulnerable side that has long been hidden behind his bravado. Of the 10 races held so far this season, Marquez has won 8. That's an extraordinary achievement, a number that only legends can achieve. But the other 2? He crashed. And one of them happened at Jerez, a track so closely associated with MotoGP history and its cruel irony. This latest incident is more than a simple accident. There is a tragic and thoughtful nuance to it. Marquez spun off in a situation almost identical to that experienced by Pecco Bagnaia earlier in the day, losing grip on his front tire while directly behind another rider. A classic situation in the world of racing, but a painful one for 2 big names with something to prove, one looking to return to the highest throne after dark times, the other fighting to maintain his championship legacy. Interestingly, Bagnaia himself made a surprising confession after the race. He said that the incident in Jerez was the first time that Marc Marquez did not lead from the start and had to chase from behind. "Every time I'm in a position like that, when I release the brake, the front tire loses control," Bagnaia said bitterly. "But I have to be honest, Marquez is very good on any bike. Meanwhile, I need a feeling of confidence in the front of the bike. And right now that feeling is not there." There was pain in his words. He then went on to explain, with technical details that showed the complexity of the problem he was facing. "I lost control of the front several times today. At turns 8, 11, 12, 4 and 5. We don't know why. And that's what made the worry even greater. A world champion like Bagnaia is now riding in uncertainty. What Marquez experienced in Jerez, with all its roar, is a mirror of Bagnaia's suffering this season. This is not only a defeat in terms of points, but also a defeat in terms of rediscovering the feeling of being at one with the machine. One thing is clear, even for a rider of Marc Marquez's caliber, the laws of physics and the characteristics of the bike are hard limits that cannot be overcome by skill and courage alone. In increasingly difficult conditions, Bagnaia chose to defend. He did not give up, but he also did not ride as freely as before. I don't like this defensive strategy. I prefer to give everything, like before, he said, disappointed but determined. But I know that once I find that feeling on the bike, I will win again. There is a belief that still burns within him, even if it is clouded by uncertainty. Bagnaia even began to see a reflection of himself in another figure on the track, Marc's brother, Alex Marquez. He realized that Alex's performance was very similar to his own in the previous season, when he was at the height of his dominance with Ducati. If you look at Alex, he is very strong, like I was last year. Maybe we need to change something on the bike, he said. This statement hints at the possibility that Ducati's development this season may in fact be moving its riders away from the optimum balance that made the GP24 so feared. Now it's not just the track that has become a battleground for Ducati. In the garage itself, the tension is no less high. On one side they have Pecco Bagnaia, an icon who has been the face of the Italian brand for years. On the other is Marc Marquez, a racing monster who has proven himself capable of conquering even the most difficult bikes. This conflict is no longer about who is faster, but who will be at the center of the development project. A hidden battle between loyalty to the past and the temptation of the future. Meanwhile, Marc Marquez must realize that extraordinary speed means nothing if it is not accompanied by consistent finishing. He has shown that he can still win, even dominate. But in this increasingly tight championship, occasional wins will not be enough. He has to prove that he can be an immovable rock, not just a big wave that comes once in a while and disappears in the storm. Jerez 2025 has not yet crowned a new champion, but one thing is clear. This season has not yet reached its climax. In fact, the real drama has only just begun. Every race from now on will be a battle not just for points, but for influence, the direction of the bike's development and a place in history. MotoGP 2025 is not just about speed. It is a battle of identities, egos, and legacies. The 2025 season has opened a new, turbulent chapter in the long history of MotoGP. A grand stage on which past legends and future heirs to the throne will compete not only with speed and machine technology, but also with the shadow of doubt, mental pressure, and burning ambition. Amidst the intense spotlight on Marc Marquez's impressive dominance and the surprising rise of his younger brother Alex Marquez, reigning champion Pecco Bagnaia finds himself at a crucial point in his career, a crossroads between a painful fall or a world-shaking comeback. This season's battle is no longer just about who is the fastest on the track, but who can withstand the pressure, who can fight the tide of doubt, and who can turn defeat into a stepping stone to glory. In this ever-escalating drama, the big question hangs in the air. Who will ultimately emerge as the true victor, the relentless man, the ever-evolving machine, or unstoppable fate? Share your thoughts below.